All right, Justin Spears here with the Hoosier Legends Weekly podcast, and we're doing our girls varsity basketball preview here. And so we're joined this evening by Triton Central head coach Bryan Graham. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time on a evening when I know you're knee deep in it, getting the season underway. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us. I know everyone I've talked to appreciate what you guys do, getting the conference out there in front of people. And like I said, we really appreciate you guys taking the time and effort to do that for everyone.
Well, thank you so much. We really greatly appreciate that, and it's been a lot of fun. I know we were talking off air a little bit about just some of the great things that we've seen accomplished already here in the fall, and super excited to see what the winter is going to bring as well. So yeah, let's just kind of start right there. The transition to the Hoosier Legends Conference. The schools that were brought over from the Crossroads, and then obviously a couple here from the Sagamore and the Wick. You kind of maybe have a little bit of a unique perspective in that you're an AD and a head coach. So how have things been received out at Triton Central and from you and what you've seen so far with the new conference?
Well, when we first started talking about it, actually the first time we had in the old conference, Speedway, Monrovia, ourselves, and Beach Groves kind of had some dialogue about maybe adding some more schools to the conference. And then the other current schools at the time that was in the conference wasn't as open to it. So we kind of, maybe we need to look in another direction. And there was no hard feelings,
right?
But it was just we were trying to figure out what can we do with other schools that are more like ours, in the way that it can provide that positive experience for our student athletes. And so, we started talking to other schools and we'd had some conversation with Tri-West because they had showed interest in joining our old conference. And same thing with Greenwood, who will be coming, the following year. So we had dialogue with schools back and forth. As an AD, it's like anything else. There's always stuff going on behind the scenes. And, once again, it's never, I always tell people it's never hard feelings when people leave conferences or start new conferences. It's about, sometimes in life, it's okay to be selfish. And I think sometimes as an AD, you want to look and what's best for your community, your kids, and what's going to prepare you for postseason runs the best, what's going to bring in the most gates, that type of stuff. And we really feel like the conference that we got all together is just a tremendous, not only for the athletic side, but just tremendous schools and communities. And we think that's what really makes the Hoosier Leisure Conference special.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And we definitely have seen that as we traveled. I think I've been at all of the schools now in the conference. Of course, you and I were talking a little bit. I've coached at Cascade, so we've got a little bit of relationship with Monrovia and Speedway in the past, being out this way. But yeah, making my way over to Beach Grove, down Indian Creek, and then out to you guys as well. Yeah, you feel that community and that camaraderie, which is great. You want that, when you're participating and having buy-in from the community. So that's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about your season here. You getting underway here. I know the first couple weeks is always a grind to get the tryouts going, get everybody acclimated, your conditioning, you're installing your offense and defense. So tell us a little bit about how things have gone so far early on in the season in that regard.
It's gone really well. We're kind of yesterday was our first day that we had all of our players because our volleyball team went to semi-state. And, they ended up falling to a Great Bar Reef team in the Final Four. And so Monday we kind of had all of our players. We were a very young team last year. We started 4 sophomores and a junior. And so last year was probably the youngest team I've ever had. So this year, even though we're still not very old, but we're way more experienced. So, everything's been off to a good start. Really looking forward to the season. I think we got a lot of good players and good kids. And I think we'll be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as you are starting, kind of getting underway, and I know you're getting a little bit of a late jump, as you said, with your volleyball girls coming on board now, what would you like to kind of see the team's identity build as the season unfolds here? What do you kind of preach and try to look at to instill into your girls as the season moves on?
Well, one of our staples with Lady Tiger basketball, since I've been there for 18 years now, is that defense is a big thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can go back and look at statistics over the years, and we're always, very, very well rounded on the defensive end. And I think that's play hard, play tough, play together. And I think that's a big thing for us. Offensively, as coaches, you have to adjust to kind of your skill set. Every coach wants to throw the ball in the post to 6'1" kid, but when your tallest kid's 5'7", that doesn't quite work out the same way. So I think offensively, coaches, especially us, we're more to adapt to change depending on our skill set and what we have each year. But our defensive principles at Triton Central never really waver. We're pretty much very aggressive on defense. Out picking you up full court, trying to press you, run and jump, trap, trying to cause chaos, hectic, trying to get easy baskets. That's kind of our bread and butter is our defense. Good defense creates easy offense, and that's kind of what we've done for the last 18 years, and that really doesn't change.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really great to hear, because I know there's always kind of that debate about, do you run your system and, you would fit your players into that system, or do you try to adapt to the skill sets that you have, right? And so, yeah, that's great. Doing a little bit of research, right? It looks like you got a young lady who has a little bit of a bright future. Of course, she still has her senior year in front of her, Mary Rose Felling. Talk to us a little bit about what she's meant to coach in her time there at Triton Central.
Yeah, she's a very hard worker, puts in a lot of extra time and effort, and her thing is, we've been very blessed with a lot of good players through the years, and she's no different in the way that sometimes if you're just you being on the court makes your teammates better, because people have to game plan and adjust and worry so much about you. Like in her case with Felling, that it allows her teammates around her to be better. And I think she embraces that. She's going to have to score. I mean, that's kind of her game, and that's her MO. And if we don't have that from her, we'll struggle. But at the same time, over the years, she's kind of adapted to involving her teammates in a way that helps to make them better. She's what's great about it, she can hit a three, but then she can also throw the full court pass on a fast break to a layup. She's also our leading rebounder. So she does a lot of different facets of the game that definitely makes us who we are.
That's great. It's always good to have that player you can lean on there for those situational things and stuff like that. So who else on the team are you excited to kind of see maybe take that next step, or, is kind of that glue person there to kind of hold everything together?
Well, I would say the glue on our team is definitely our point guard, Quinn King. She's a junior. She is, I think last year she averaged 7 or 8 points, but then 6 or 7 assists a game. Her big step from last year to this year has been her shooting. She's really worked hard on the offseason on her shooting, getting more consistent. We always preach, if you're a good shooter, you should miss consistently. And what we mean by that is every time you're missing, it's not an air ball to the left or off the backboard. It's the same miss all the time. And so that's kind of how we teach shooting, is we want you to miss consistently. And Quinn has really worked hard at that. But Quinn is that person on defense. She's making the calls. She's getting people in the right spot. She's and then on offense, of course, she's running that fast break. And so Quinn does everything that every coach always talks about, what they want their point guard to do. And Quinn does that. And then we've got a nice mix of players. I got another senior named Cheyenne Allen, who's just a steady rock senior. She's never going to average 20 points and anything like that, but she's going to come out and get you 8 to 10 points a game. Just be solid, kind of be that physical presence on the floor. She was our goalie in soccer. Made all conference. She's just real steady, and so Cheyenne brings that calmness to the team. And we got a couple other players. She's one of my post players. She's always been a guard her whole life, and then once we're not very big, now she's our 5'5" post player. But we kind of run her down the floor and say, hey, if they're bigger, you got to be faster. Layla Compton, and we got another guard, Kate Collier. They're both juniors. Both of those players do a really good job of doing their roles. Defensively, that's what, like I said, they're both just very, very solid defensively. So they're going to get after it. But with a nice little setup there, like I said, with Felling and King and Allen, Compton, Collier. We got another senior named Lexi Eubanks who does a really good job of knocking down open jumpers. And then we've got a little sophomore guard named Riley Prude, who's all conference in soccer as well, who is just fast as can be. And she's just all over the court. So I think we have a nice mix of players who provide different options on both ends of the floor. We got probably 3 or 4 players that I can say you're guarding the other team's best player. And, so that helps me out a lot defensively.
Sure.
And then on offense, like I said, we've got some really good outside shooters that opens it up in the middle. And, we don't have anybody with back-to-back, they're back to the basket with the post. We're just not built that way this year,
right.
Which is okay. Sure. But at the same time, I think with our nice mix of players, we have a good rotation. We can play probably 8 to 10 and not really miss a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be our strength, is going to be that we may not be top heavy, but we're really strong, through the whole core. And I think that's going to help us in the long run.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot of role players that can help, and I know that's super important. You need players to be able to step in and fill roles, and that's fantastic. So, well, as we wrap it up, 330 wins, that's pretty phenomenal. The success that you've had, the longevity that you've had. We were talking a little bit off air again about the number of girls that, you've seen go on and play at the next level and everything like that. Talk to us a little bit about how that has helped build that culture and, what you've got going on out there at Triton Central. Because I think a lot of people are always, when they're running a program, whether they're AD or they're a head coach, they're looking for that secret sauce. They're looking for, that edge. How do you sustain that in this day and age? So what for you has been kind of that recipe out there?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you can do is you have to develop that trust. You have to develop the work ethic, the positive attitude. But I would say probably the most proudest thing I am of the whole culture, the whole program, is just the fact that it's just consistency every year. Some teams might have a good run where they have 2 or 3 good seasons, and then they're rebuilding for the next 2. I feel very blessed that we've been able to maintain it for 18 years now. Like you and I were talking earlier, for us to say, we average over 18 years, I think we've averaged like 19 wins a season. And so to me, though, that speaks high volumes of my assistant coaches, my middle school coaches, because those people coming through the system, when you're a 5th to 6th grader, what Lady Tiger basketball is all about. You come to the games, you sit behind the bench, and you have that attitude that I want to be out there one day in my life. And I think that means a lot. It allows the girls to have something to look forward to. So if I would have to say one thing, a secret sauce, I think the biggest thing is, I think it's family. I think that's the biggest thing. I think treating everyone like family. And what people need to understand with the family is, there's going to be times you disagree. There's going to be times you don't get along. You're mad at each other. And that's part of being a family. But then when your back's against the wall and you can count on someone, then you're there for each other. And I think that's the biggest thing, like with not just with our program, on the basketball side, but also the entire school at Triton Central. I think family is a big part of our culture. And that carries over into my program. That carries over in, football. That carries over volleyball. That carries over to everything. And I think that's a big deal. But yeah, the secret sauce, I think, is being present. I think that's a big thing. I think being present and letting kids know how much you care. I think that's huge.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And yeah, you get that nostalgia of, growing up. And I know in this day and age where there's so much competition for kids' time and attention, it sounds like there's still that cohesiveness, that connectedness from, young age up to the high school, that they're connected to Triton Central basketball. And that's kudos to you guys for keeping that environment in this day and age. Where
I think over the last 44 years, we've only had 2 coaches, the gentleman before me and then me. So it's, so it's been kind of just that expectation, like, where you're going to get. And I think that plays a big role in it too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you what, we're really, really looking forward to watching you guys throughout the course of the season. Of course, wish you all the best of luck as you get
Thank you.
underway. I know you're a little delayed there with the, like you said, the volleyball thing. I'm sure getting practices in for everybody and whatnot. But like I told Coach Selk earlier, when I looked at the crossroads last year and I saw 6-1, 6-1, 6-1 in the top three in the conference that are now in the Hoosier Legends, I knew this was going to be, a really good league for girls basketball. And
Oh yeah.
would love to see, the competitiveness again this year, and think it's going to be fun to watch you guys battle it out. So best of luck to you and the ladies as you guys get your season going. And so we'll look forward to following you along and watching you on your journey.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Coach Graham.